In the vibrant streets of Manila, a young woman named Julie Ann Rodelas was making her way into the world. She was just 20 years old but had already captured the dreams of a community. Born with a beauty that turned heads and a spirit that seemed unbreakable, Julie was no ordinary young woman. She was an aspiring model with big ambitions. Growing up in the bustling Philippines, Julie was known for her warm smile and friendly personality. Her life hadn't always been easy, but her dreams kept her grounded. Family members and friends recall a young woman who believed in the power of hard work and who wanted more from life than what she was born into. Julie saw modeling not only as a career but as her ticket to a brighter future, a way to lift herself and her family to new heights. Her journey was just beginning. In the tight-knit community of Manila, she stood out. Julie's presence was magnetic. People were drawn to her. Friends describe her as trusting, always eager to help those around her, and genuinely kind-hearted. Her generosity knew no limits, and if you were her friend, you were like family. Among these friends was Ana Marie Santos, a young woman Julie trusted implicitly. They shared stories, dreams, and secrets. To Julie, Ana was more than just a friend. She was practically a sister. But the truth was more complicated than it seemed. Julie believed in the best of people, a trait that would later expose her to unimaginable dangers. In her journey to fulfill her dreams, she was unaware that one of her closest friends might not have had her best interests at heart. Julie's modeling career was her greatest passion. She had entered local beauty pageants hoping that her determination and charm would catch the attention of someone who could help her move forward. Her friends and family were her biggest supporters. They would tell anyone who would listen that Julie Ann was destined for great things. But while she was busy dreaming, someone else was carefully observing her, someone who would soon become her worst nightmare. In her friendship with Ana Marie Santos, Julie found a confidant. To everyone around them, their bond seemed unbreakable. Ana was there for Julie during the ups and downs, celebrating her wins and comforting her through her struggles. Yet as close as they appeared, there were hidden tensions, buried deep beneath the surface. What Julie didn't know was that the very person she trusted so deeply harbored dark resentments, a silent jealousy that simmered with every step Julie took toward her dreams. Ana had her own insecurities and ambitions. While Julie's star was rising, Ana felt as if her own life was standing still. As Julie's dreams began to materialize, Ana's envy grew. The rumors would come later, whispers in the background suggesting that Julie had been talking about Ana, spreading words that Ana couldn't ignore. It was only a matter of time before those whispers would ignite into something deadly. In those final days, Julie could not have known the depth of the resentment lurking beneath Ana's friendly exterior. She had no idea that the very dreams she held so close would trigger jealousy, strong enough to break the bonds of friendship. Julie's faith in Ana was absolute. She could never have predicted that this very trust would lead her into a carefully set trap, laid out by the friend she considered her own sister. In the days before her death, Julie's world was filled with excitement. She had so much to look forward to, and the future seemed bright. But as she prepared to move forward, others prepared to bring her down. The stage was set and the players were already in place. And all it took was one evening out with friends, a night Julie thought would be filled with laughter and celebration, to turn her world upside down. This was the beginning of Julie Ann Rodelas' story, a tale of betrayal, jealousy, and ultimately unimaginable tragedy. The worst part? The deadly trap was already closing in, hidden behind the smiles of those she trusted most. Julie Ann Rodelas was not only ambitious but also a loyal friend, the kind of person who believed deeply in the people closest to her. One of those people was Ana Marie Santos, a young woman who shared many of Julie's dreams and ambitions. They had met in the close-knit circles of Manila's beauty and pageant scene, forming a friendship that seemed genuine on the surface. Julie saw in Ana a confidant, someone who shared her passion for the industry and understood her struggles. Together, they dreamed of fame and success, each hoping to carve out a place in a world that wasn't easy to break into. Ana and Julie weren't just friends in passing. They shared secrets, dreams, and supported each other through life's challenges. To Julie, Ana was more than just a friend. She was a sister she could rely on, a presence in her life that seemed trustworthy. Julie would confide in Ana about her worries and insecurities, trusting that her words were safe. But beneath Ana's friendly smile lay a hidden resentment, a jealousy that festered as Julie's career began to gain momentum. Little did Julie know, Anna's ambitions went beyond friendship, and she wasn't happy merely standing in Julie's shadow. As Julie's career blossomed, her friendship with Anna became increasingly complicated. What had started as a close, supportive relationship was now clouded by Anna's quiet frustrations. The modeling world is often competitive, and as Julie began receiving attention and praise, Anna started feeling left behind, as though her own dreams were slipping away. But it wasn't just about professional jealousy. Anna believed that Julie had been spreading rumors about her personal life, whispering things that, in Anna's mind, threatened her own reputation. Enter Nixon Martinez, Anna's boyfriend, who would play a pivotal role in what was to come. Martinez was known for his influence over Anna. Their relationship was intense, and he was highly protective of her. When Anna confided in him about her suspicions, believing that Julie had been calling her loose and untrustworthy, it struck a nerve. Nixon's protective nature turned to anger. To him, Julie was no longer just Anna's friend. She was a threat to Anna's reputation, and by extension, his own sense of loyalty and pride. Martinez, however, wasn't content to let the issue simmer. Instead, he began contemplating a way to confront what he saw as a betrayal. He enlisted his friend, Renz Joseph Ivan Beltran, a man who would soon become entangled in the dark plot forming around Julie. Beltran was known to Martinez and trusted as someone who could help in difficult situations. The exact nature of Beltran's involvement is still debated, but his willingness to participate suggests a level of loyalty to Martinez that would overshadow any moral hesitation. With Anna's jealousy and Nixon's fierce loyalty to his girlfriend, a deadly alliance began to form. Anna was the catalyst, nursing her resentment toward Julie, feeling betrayed by the very friend she once held dear. Martinez took on the role of the protector, convinced that Julie had wronged Anna and determined to defend her honor at any cost. Beltran, whether motivated by friendship, loyalty, or something else entirely, agreed to assist, becoming the third piece of the tragic puzzle. The seeds of betrayal had been planted, yet to Julie everything seemed normal. She had no reason to suspect her close friend, and her boyfriend's friend could harbor such dark intentions. Anna, Nixon, and Renz masked their plans well, maintaining their usual roles in Julie's life as they plotted something unimaginable. Julie was unaware that what she thought were shared dreams and mutual support had twisted into something far more dangerous. The friendship Julie cherished with Anna had become tainted by jealousy and resentment. What started as simple insecurity escalated into a grudge that took on a life of its own. The people Julie thought she could rely on were now setting the stage for her tragic fate, and as the days ticked by, the tension within this web of relationships tightened, ready to snap. The plan was forming, a betrayal so shocking that it would soon become one of the most infamous cases in the Philippines. Julie's trust was about to lead her into a carefully crafted trap, one set by the very people she had once called friends. On the surface, it seemed like a close friendship, a bond that had been nurtured over shared dreams, long conversations, and mutual support. But beneath the smiles and laughter, tensions were beginning to simmer. For Julie Ann, her friendship with Ana Marie Santos was a source of comfort, a safe place. She could never have imagined that resentment was slowly building in the heart of her closest friend. As Julie's life moved forward, Anna began feeling left behind. The more Julie's dreams seemed within reach, the more Anna's insecurities took root. She couldn't ignore the fact that Julie's ambitions were gaining recognition, while her own seemed to stagnate. And then there were the rumors, quiet whispers that Julie had been speaking behind Anna's back, supposedly telling others that Anna's relationship with Nixon Martinez was problematic, that Anna was reckless and loose. Whether Julie actually said these things or not, Anna believed every word of it. And that belief would prove to be deadly. Anna's trust in Julie had been shattered, replaced by a feeling of betrayal that she couldn't shake. She began to view Julie not as a friend, but as a threat, someone who could ruin her reputation and undermine her relationship. To Anna, the thought of her supposed friend spreading rumors was a betrayal of the highest order, and so, the bond that had once been her anchor started to crack under the weight of her suspicions. But Anna wasn't dealing with her frustrations alone. She confided everything to Nixon Martinez, her boyfriend, whose loyalty ran deep. Martinez took Anna's grievances personally, seeing Julie not only as someone who had wronged his girlfriend but as an enemy to their relationship. To him, Julie's rumored words weren't just careless gossip. They were a direct attack on Anna's character and by extension on him. Martinez's anger grew, fueled by Anna's resentment and his own protective nature. He couldn't bear the thought of anyone tarnishing Anna's reputation, and he began to consider ways to put an end to what he saw as a threat. As the rumors spread, Anna's resentment only deepened, and Nixon's anger solidified into something far more dangerous. They felt wronged, betrayed by someone they had trusted, and soon the couple's frustrations would spill over to involve a third party, Renz Joseph Ivan Beltran, Martinez's friend, who would soon find himself pulled into the unfolding plan. Beltran was known as a loyal friend, someone who would back Martinez without question. In his eyes, if Nixon was involved, then it must be serious. Although Beltran didn't know Julie personally, he trusted his friend's word. Soon he too would be wrapped up in the dark intentions forming around Julie. To them, she was no longer just a friend of Anna's. She was an obstacle, a person whose alleged actions could no longer go unpunished. Together, Anna, Nixon, and Renz began discussing their grievances, exchanging thoughts that fed each other's suspicions and anger. The friendship between Anna and Julie had transformed into something unrecognizable, tainted by jealousy, resentment, and a thirst for retribution. Anna saw herself as the victim, wronged by her closest friend's supposed betrayal. Nixon saw himself as the protector, determined to defend Anna's honor. And Renz was the loyal ally, willing to back his friend's vendetta. Julie remained blissfully unaware of the growing hostility, oblivious to the trap that was closing around her. She had no idea that her friend's perception of her had twisted so drastically, that her innocent actions and words had been interpreted as malicious. The wheels were already in motion, and what had begun as quiet resentment was now snowballing into something much darker. The friendships that Julie valued so dearly were poisoned. What she thought was simply friendship and loyalty had become a dangerous web of jealousy, resentment, and distrust. Her trust in Anna was unwavering, even as Anna harbored thoughts of betrayal. And with Nixon and Renz now involved, the situation was spiraling out of control. The line between right and wrong, friendship and hostility had blurred beyond recognition. And as the resentment deepened, one question began to arise between the three of them. Was Julie's betrayal unforgivable? And if so, what were they willing to do to make sure she paid for it? It was only a matter of time before their anger would find an outlet. The rumors, the jealousy, the need for revenge, all of it was leading toward a single irreversible decision. And Julie, trusting and unaware, was about to walk right into it. November 5, 2012 began as an ordinary evening for Julie Ann Rodelas. She had been invited out by her trusted friend Ana Marie Santos for what she believed would be a night of laughter and relaxation. Julie Ann had no reason to suspect that this night would be different from any other. She trusted Anna completely, seeing her not just as a friend but as family. If Anna suggested an outing, Julie Ann would be there without a second thought. And so as she stepped out that evening, there was nothing in her mind but the anticipation of a casual night out. The city lights of Manila flickered as they drove through the streets. Julie sat beside Anna, talking and laughing as if everything were normal. But in the shadows of that car, something was very wrong. In the driver's seat was Nixon Martinez, Anna's boyfriend, and beside him sat Renz Joseph Ivan Beltran, Nixon's close friend. Julie had met them both before. She knew them well enough to feel comfortable in their presence. She had no idea that as they exchanged pleasantries, the very people surrounding her harbored intentions far darker than she could imagine. The car drove deeper into the city, and as the minutes ticked by, Julie began to sense that something wasn't quite right. The atmosphere in the vehicle grew colder, the laughter fading into tense silence. She couldn't pinpoint what it was, but an unsettling feeling washed over her. A feeling that something was wrong, that something terrible was on the horizon. She glanced at Anna, hoping for some reassurance, but Anna's expression remained emotionless, as if she were deliberately avoiding Julie's gaze. Julie's unease deepened as the car continued to move, taking turns into unfamiliar areas, away from the familiar streets she thought they were heading toward. She asked Anna where they were going, trying to sound casual, as if the growing anxiety in her chest wasn't real. But Anna's answers were vague, her words short and dismissive. Julie tried to brush it off, to convince herself that it was just nerves, that perhaps her friends had a surprise planned for her. but the silence was suffocating, and the tension in the car felt like a weight pressing down on her. Moments later, Julie's discomfort escalated into fear. The car slowed, pulling off the main road and into a deserted area, a part of the city she didn't recognize. Her instincts screamed at her. This was wrong, this wasn't where they were supposed to be. Her voice trembled as she questioned them again, asking why they were stopping here, but the only response she received was silence, the kind of silence that sends a chill down your spine. Anna looked at Julie with a cold detachment that Julie had never seen before, a look that erased any remnants of friendship between them. Julie's heart pounded as she realized she was trapped, caught in a nightmare that her mind was still struggling to process. She was in the company of people she had once called friends, yet at that moment they felt like strangers, strangers who meant her harm. As the car came to a complete stop, the weight of the situation settled over Julie like a suffocating blanket. This wasn't an innocent outing, and these weren't just friends taking her on a detour. The people she had trusted had led her into a trap, and there was no way out. Julie's mind raced, her heart beating like a drum as she realized the gravity of her situation. She was at the mercy of the very people she had thought she could rely on. Nixon and Renz, with cold precision, restrained Julie before she had a chance to escape. The pleas that escaped her lips were met with indifference. To them, she was no longer their friend, she was the target. The realization that Anna, her friend, was in on this betrayal shattered any hope she had left. Anna didn't intervene, didn't speak up, didn't try to stop what was happening. Instead, she remained silent, watching as her friend, once cherished, was overpowered and terrified. Julie's mind raced with questions. How had it come to this? What could she have done to deserve such treatment from people she had trusted so completely? But the answers didn't matter now. Her pleas and her tears fell on deaf ears. Nixon and Renz remained unmoved, their expressions cold and unyielding, as if they were merely carrying out a task they had been planning for weeks. Julie's hope faded as she was forced to stay in that car, powerless, watching the city lights fade behind them as they drove further into isolation. She was caught in a web of betrayal that she could never have imagined, trapped by the very people who had once shared her dreams. Each minute that passed took her further from the world she knew, from the life she had fought to build. And as the car continued its journey, Julie knew that she was now at the mercy of her captors, her friends turned enemies, in a night that would soon end in unimaginable tragedy. Trapped in the back seat, Julie Ann Rodelas' heart pounded as reality began to settle in. She wasn't simply out for a night with friends. She was being held captive. The people she trusted had transformed into captors, and the car she thought was taking her to a night of fun was now a prison, moving steadily into the dark, unfamiliar stretches of the city. Her mind raced, trying to understand what was happening, trying to make sense of the situation. "Anna, please," she whispered, turning to her friend, searching her eyes for any hint of compassion. "What's going on? Where are we going?" But Anna's face remained stone cold, her gaze empty, as if Julie's voice was nothing more than an echo. As the minutes ticked by, Julie's fear deepened. The tension in the car was suffocating, like a heavy fog she couldn't escape. She shifted, pulling against the restraints, her breathing quickening as she glanced between Nixon Martinez and Renz Joseph Ivan Beltran, hoping one of them might show her a hint of mercy. "Please let me go. I don't know what I did, but I'm sorry," she pleaded, her voice laced with desperation. But her captor's expressions remained unreadable, a wall of indifference that offered no comfort, no hope. Every attempt Julie made to reason with them was met with cold silence. "Anna," she tried again, her voice trembling. "Anna, please, whatever I did, we can work this out." Her words hung in the air, desperate, raw. But Anna's face was blank, as though she were listening to a stranger, someone she had no connection to, no sympathy for. There was no hint of the friend Julie had once known, only a detached, unfeeling presence that offered nothing but silence. Julie's mind spiraled with panic. She began to bargain, grasping at anything she thought might make a difference. "Please, I won't say anything to anyone. I'll forget this happened. Just please let me go," she begged, her voice cracking under the weight of her terror. But her captors were unmoved, their expressions as still as stone. To them, her words were meaningless, her pleas just background noise. In their eyes, she was no longer a friend, no longer someone they cared about. She was merely an obstacle, someone they had decided to eliminate. Each second that passed felt like an eternity. Julie's chest tightened as her options dwindled, her reality growing darker with every mile the car traveled. She looked out the window, watching as the lights of the city faded into the distance, leaving her surrounded by nothing but emptiness. The realization was settling in. There was no escape, no one coming to save her. She was utterly alone, trapped in a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. Her voice became frantic. "Please, Anna, Nixon, Renz, whatever it is, I'm sorry, I don't deserve this," she cried out, hoping that maybe, just maybe, something she said would strike a chord. But her captors remained unmoved, their expressions frozen in chilling calmness. For them, this was a plan in motion, a plan they had no intention of changing. Julie's cries, her pleas, her desperation, they meant nothing to them. As the car pressed on, Julie's strength began to wane. She had exhausted every word, every plea, every argument she could muster. Her voice, once filled with hope, was now hollow, defeated. She looked once more at Anna, the friend she had trusted, the friend she had confided in, hoping for some spark of humanity. But Anna's gaze was empty, a mirror reflecting back only cold indifference. In that moment, Julie understood the truth. Anna wasn't going to help her. She had been part of this from the beginning. The reality settled heavily over Julie. Like the weight of the darkness surrounding them, she was a prisoner, and her captors had already decided her fate. Every turn the car made, every mile it drove, carried her further from the life she had known, from the dreams she had once held so close. The hope she had clung to so desperately began to fade, replaced by a chilling sense of finality. The night wore on, silent and unforgiving as Julie sat trapped in that car, powerless against the betrayal that had led her here. Her pleas had fallen on deaf ears. Her desperation had met only with indifference. Her friends had turned into enemies, and the life she had fought so hard to build was slipping away moment by agonizing moment. All she could do was wait, held captive by those she once called friends, helpless in the hands of people who had once been her trusted allies. And as the car continued its journey into the darkness, Julie knew deep down that she would never see the light of day again. The car cut through the night, its headlights slicing through the empty roads as it ventured farther and farther from the city. Each mile took Julie Ann Rodelas further from safety, deeper into the shadows where hope seemed to vanish with every turn. The city lights were nothing but distant memories now, replaced by the eerie silence of the remote roads. Inside the vehicle, an unbearable tension pressed down on her, suffocating in its intensity. Julie's eyes darted between the faces of her captors. Nixon Martinez's hands gripped the wheel, steady and unflinching. Renz Joseph Ivan Beltran sat beside him, his expression blank as if they were on a routine drive. But it was Ana Marie Santos, seated next to Julie in the back, whose presence cut the deepest. Julie searched Anna's face, desperate for some spark of humanity, some indication that this was all a mistake. But all she saw was a cold, detached gaze, devoid of sympathy. The silence in the car was thick, broken only by the hum of the engine and the occasional sound of the tires on the gravel roads. For Julie, every sound was magnified. Every second stretched into an eternity. She wanted to scream, to beg one last time, but she knew it would be useless. Her voice would be swallowed by the night, unheard and unheeded. The betrayal was real, and there was no escape. The car drove on, winding through darkened roads that grew more isolated with each passing minute. Julie's heart pounded as she realized that no one would find her out here. They were too far from the city, from help, from anyone who might hear her cries. She was utterly alone, a captive to people she once considered her closest friends. And then, Julie looked at Anna again, unable to comprehend how the friend she trusted with her secrets and dreams was now her captor. Anna's face was chillingly calm, as if this were just another night, another drive, not the final journey of the friend beside her. The emptiness in Anna's eyes shattered any remaining illusions Julie might have clung to. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a prank gone wrong. Anna was fully complicit, watching her friend's terror with an unnerving indifference. The road became rougher, the darkness around them growing heavier, more oppressive. Julie's breathing quickened as she realized that they were nearing their destination, wherever that might be. She could feel it, the way the car slowed, the way her captors exchanged silent glances. They were preparing, focused and intent. This wasn't spontaneous, this was planned, deliberate. Julie turned to Anna one last time, her eyes pleading, searching for anything that might reassure her. But there was nothing. Anna's face remained a mask, unmoved by Julie's fear, her terror, her final hopes. The friend she had once trusted implicitly was gone, replaced by a stranger who seemed almost immune to the horror unfolding around her. Julie's mind raced with memories, of laughter, of secrets shared, of the friendship that had once seemed so real. The betrayal cut deeper than any blade, leaving a wound that would never heal. Anna's silence was louder than any scream, her cold indifference more brutal than any blow. For Julie, the pain of losing a friend was only surpassed by the fear of what was to come. The car finally slowed to a crawl, the engine quieting as it approached an isolated area, surrounded by nothing but the darkness of the Philippine night. Julie's heart sank and any last vestiges of hope disappeared. There was no one here. There would be no rescue, no chance to escape. She was trapped, a prisoner of those she once trusted, forced to confront the harsh reality of her fate. And as the car rolled to a stop, the silence settled around them like a shroud, suffocating and final. Julie's gaze fell to the ground outside, realizing this was where it would all end. Her journey with these people, her supposed friends, had led her here, to a place of utter isolation, of abandonment, where only the dark would bear witness to what was about to unfold. As the engine died, the silence was complete. Julie was left with nothing but the echo of her own heartbeat and the cruel reality that the people she trusted most had led her to this place of no return. In that final moment, the depth of the betrayal settled over her, filling her with a terror that words could never capture. Her fate was now sealed, surrounded by those she had once called friends who had chosen to bring her life to this chilling end. The night pressed down around them, a silent witness to the betrayal that would go down in history, a tale of trust shattered, of friendships twisted into something dark and unimaginable. And for Julie, the last thing she felt was the icy realization that her friends, her confidants, had transformed into her executioners. The car had finally come to a stop in a remote area of Quezon City. The night was silent, the air thick with an unsettling stillness, as if the world itself had fallen quiet in anticipation. For Julie Ann Rodelas, these were her final moments, though she could never have known it. She was forced out of the vehicle, her feet hitting the cold, unforgiving ground. The isolation of the surroundings closed in around her, suffocating and absolute. Julie's eyes darted around, desperately searching for some way out, any glimpse of hope in the darkness. But there was nothing, just empty road and silence stretching out into the night. Her captors followed her out of the car, moving with chilling precision. Nixon Martinez and Renz Joseph Ivan Beltran, men she had once trusted, positioned themselves with a terrifying calmness, as if they were following a plan that had been rehearsed in their minds. Her final plea fell into the empty air. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking, her words carried away into the night. She turned to Ana Marie Santos, her friend, her confidant, the person she had once considered family. But Anna's face remained as it had been throughout the journey, cold, detached, offering nothing but silence. And then, in a single, irreversible moment, the silence was shattered. Multiple gunshots echoed through the night, each one ripping through the quiet, each one erasing the life of the young woman who had once dreamed of a future so different from this. The sound reverberated through the empty road, fading into the dark, leaving only a heavy stillness in its wake. Julie's body fell to the ground, lifeless, abandoned. The vibrant, ambitious young woman who had trusted her friends with her life now lay motionless, a stark and tragic end to her dreams. Her captors looked down at her, their faces unreadable, unmoved by the horror of what they had done. For them it was over, a brutal act carried out with cold, calculated precision. And with that they left her there, alone in the silence of the night, abandoned on the side of the road as if her life had never mattered. The betrayal was complete, the friendship shattered in the most horrific way imaginable. Julie Ann Rodelas, the young woman with dreams of modeling and aspirations for a better life, had been silenced forever by the very people she had once held close to her heart. As her killers drove away, disappearing into the darkness, the scene they left behind was a chilling reminder of the depth of their betrayal. A life ended by those she had trusted, a dream extinguished by jealousy and resentment. And there, on that desolate road in Quezon City, the silence returned, bearing witness to a crime that would haunt the memories of those who learned of it, a story of trust turned deadly. Julie Ann Rodelas' story is one of broken trust, unfathomable betrayal, and a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind a friendly face. This is only the beginning of our in-depth investigation into the events that led to her tragic death. What would you do if you discovered someone you trusted had such dark intentions? Please let us know in the comments section below. Stay tuned for part 2, which will detail the investigation, shocking revelations, and aftermath of this devastating betrayal. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to ensure you don't miss the next chapter of this haunting tale.